And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Good to see you here tonight. Friday night, my God, you have so much to do, but you chose to be here with me. So the pleasure is mine, everyone. Good to see you. I have a special guest tonight. We're just going to chit-chat on Friday Night Chill Pill. Joining me tonight is Lindsay Johnson. And we're just going to talk about whatever we want to talk about. There's no agenda. There's no list of questions. And I'll tell you in a little while how I know Lindsay. But welcome to the show tonight, Lindsay.
Thank you. Happy to be here, hang out with you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's see who's on tonight. Tony Bruno, that is my brother. He's in Melbourne, Florida. He's with us. He's a moderator tonight. So he's kind of like, he's the bouncer, so to speak. He's the doorman, so to speak. Carolina is with us. Carolina is from Brazil, and we had her on last week. Mr. Frampton is here. Charlie Monroe, good to see you, my friend. Phil B, good to see you. Jay Cole, good to have you here. Tell me, where are you all from tonight before we get going? We're waiting for the magic number. You guys know what the magic number is. Garrett Thompson, good to see you. Where's everybody from tonight? Vincent Tiscala, good to see you. Matthew, how are you? Nice to see you. Raymond Smith, Dan B, Max Josephson in Boynton Beach, Florida. All right, cool. Ah, there we go. Yeah, Illinois is in the house. Los Angeles is in the house. Let's see. Massachusetts, Kelowna, British Columbia, Michigan, London, Ontario. We have another person from Brazil. Beautiful Northeast Georgia, Indiana. Let's see. Florida. Guru Mac is in Florida. South Dakota's in the house. Michigan, Nevada. Wow. Girl named Toby. Already saying she's pretty. That's a good thing.
Thank you.
Southern Beard is with us. Phyllis Chandler. How are you, Miss Chandler in Tennessee? Good to see you. Alberta, Canada. Chicago. Oh, Tanisha. That's one of our regulars. Oh, let's see. Denver, Colorado, Kentucky. Wales in the UK. South Carolina, Asheville, North Carolina. Wow. It's hard to keep up with everyone, but I'm really happy. Virginia, Phoenix, Tasmania, fantastic. Denver, Madison, Wisconsin. So good that everyone is here. Wow, on a Friday night. I did not expect you all to be here because this was unannounced. Mexico is here. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to talk about who Lindsay is in a little while, but we're just waiting till we get to the magic number. Flagstaff, Arizona, Arkansas here, Texas representing, Danny in Vegas. Man, we are all over the world tonight, Lindsay.
Great.
They're everywhere. Paris, France, Michigan, San Francisco. Wow, what a great crowd. Mr. Luis from Brazil, again, Jakarta, Indonesia. Fantastic. Norway. I love it. Wow, a truly international crowd tonight. Much more people from further away. Joseph from Pennsylvania, fantastic. Metro Chicago, Stewart is there. Brazil. We love it. I think we're going to reach the magic number before we, it's not going to take very long. Holy cow. Danny M says, I've been with you since the long beard days. Yeah. Thanks. Tampa, Florida is here. Yeah. Lindsay, I used to have a beard down to my belt buckle. It was like really super long. It was crazy. Yeah.
I saw. That's great.
J. Cole says, George, I luckily have YouTube set to notify me when you go live. Otherwise, I would have missed this. I love the Friday Night Chill Pill. Well, excellent. Thank you, man. Let's see. Matthew, you're right. Ralstonian is with us. You think I should be the next Supreme Court justice? Bring some sanity, clarity, and reason to the High Court. Yes. Guru Max says he's grown a year. Good for you, man. That's awesome. Longtime fan Isaiah is here. Norway, Oslo. Oslo, Norway. Excellent. Taryn Hall, Macomb, Illinois. Hola, Kiros. The beard is getting long again. Yes, I'm just going to grow it a little bit more. Tampa or Vegas to live? I pick probably Tampa. I think I'm a Tampa guy. I don't want to be landlocked. Showtime, Mike, Real Talk TV. Cutie, the woman that is. Darn it, I thought you were talking about me. Shoot. Cape Town, South Africa, the gamer. Good to have you here. I was actually talking to someone from South Africa today to get him on the show, one of my followers. How do I use mustache wax? Sparingly. That's how you use it. Less is more. Less is definitely more. Ed says, greetings, new fan here. Good to have you on board, Ed. That's pretty awesome. Matt says, Tony Bruno's here. Let's get the party started. That's funny. I'm out in the shed tonight. It's a little chilly here. What is the weather like where you are, Lindsay?
It is warm and humid. It's about.
Is it warm and humid?
Yeah, I think 89 degrees right now.
Holy cow.
Sunny, not so sunny, South Florida.
Wow. I know I've got, we're going down into the 40s tonight, so it's going to be a cool one tonight.
Sounds refreshing.
It really was. I'll tell you, when I was walking this morning, it was magnificent. Girl named Toby. George, I need a haircut. Can you help me? I pay well. Of course, I do great haircuts. 61 degrees. Tenacious says hi to Tony. We have someone from Napoli. That's wonderful. 74 in Kansas, Charlie says. Pardon me while I go Facebook and stalk Miss Lindsay. Kidding. Okay. That means he's not kidding.
Good luck finding me.
Yeah. Max Josephson says, Lindsay has beautiful eyes. Max, what about my eyes? Come on, man.
I think you're
Dude, I want a beard like... Oh, I thank you, dear. I appreciate that. Dude, I want a beard like yours, and what's that? Smoke a corncob pipe. That would sport so cool. All right. Austin. John Hoover's with us. 83 in Austin, Texas. Hurricane coming. AMB from Southern California, just sub. Thank you. Carolina's laughing at everything. She's getting a kick out of that. So, well, we are at 113. We are past the magic number. So I will introduce you. And we got to the magic number pretty fast. 52 degrees in London, Ontario. Oh, incredible. That's great. At T21 Surfer says, yes, she's stealing the show. She is. She's much prettier. I know. She's wait till she talks.
Yeah.
And then let's see. Harvey Weinstein. Now that's a funny name. Good evening, GB. I've started writing down my thoughts since watching your videos. I feel writing is a good way to communicate to yourself as long as you can read. It is. Thoughts on semen retention. Let me give you my thoughts on semen retention. All right. Your testicles and your sex organs they're organs and they operate. Why would you not want one of your organs to function normally? All I have to say, like, you wouldn't want your liver to stop working, would you? You wouldn't want your kidneys to stop working. You wouldn't want your stomach to stop working, or your brain, or your heart, or your pancreas. So why would you want those organs to stop working? What kind of voodoo are you speaking of where you're, not allowing your body? No, semen retention is not self-discipline. I'm sorry, it's voodoo. It's 100% voodoo. Use it or lose it, my brother, okay? Enough of this Eastern philosophy stuff of holding your stuff in. I'm not saying spray it out either all over the world either, but the whole concept of semen. See the stuff we talk about here, Lindsay? It just everything's on the table here.
On the table.
All right. So let's get started with our conversation. And everybody, this is Lindsay Johnson. I met Lindsay Johnson when I was looking for an app to do coaching, and I found it. I don't even know how I found it. I guess it was like it's one of those things where I need to analyze my clickstream behavior, because it was like one click led to another, and I ended up with you talking, and I'm like, okay, who is this person? What is she talking about? And you are a developer of an app that helps content creators stay in touch with their audience. But you are so much more than that. And we're going to talk about the entrepreneur stuff, but you are multi-dimensional. You're not only an entrepreneur, but you have a lot of insight into human behavior and personality types. And you're an interesting person. And I've always thought, I mean, what a great blessing. Like I've always said, like with the Dos Equis commercial, there's Jonathan Goldsmith, that's the actor's name. There's a reason why he's not the most handsome man in the world. He's the most interesting man in the world, because interesting always trumps handsome. Always. People don't want to be with just good-looking people, because you end up being like the Planet Fitness commercial with the girls in the locker room. Do you remember that? Like, hi, hottie. How you doing, hottie? Oh, I'm so hot. How are you, hottie? And it's like just all these people just like complimenting each other, how good looking they are. Yeah. I would rather be known as interesting guy. I want people standing around me because I'm interesting. I want people tuning in because I'm interesting. I find you interesting, Lindsay. That's why we connected. And you're one of these people that I want to introduce to my audience. So why don't you tell my audience a little bit about yourself? Say whatever you want. There's no rules. Go for it.
Sure. Well, hello, new internet friends. I think there's some old internet friends on here as well. So my name's Lindsay. I also have a YouTube channel as well. The content I kind of focus on there is a little bit more centered on practical psychology, growth mindset, how we can really look at ourselves and really dig up the dirt, kind of the not great stuff, so that we can learn how to improve it, and just take responsibility for the stuff that really will trip us up in life. And I really like taking perspective on things. So, you could have a cup, right, on a table, and you could find many different ways to look at this one cup and many different interpretations. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is that they're looking at one interpretation of the cup on the table when there's really a few different ways you can be looking at it. And that's why people have arguments on certain things, why people will be talking about the same thing but seeing it so many different ways, and they talk over each other, and communication can be hard. So one of my greatest passions is helping the world be more connected and understood between people, and learning to speak each other's language in terms of the brain language. And a big piece of that too kind of is what started the startup Snug. And it's a place where YouTube creators can monetize their time by connecting with their audience, having videos, chat sessions. People can book with their favorite person on the internet, talk to them face to face for maybe the first time. And our bodies really are so sensitive to the facial expressions and the way that we look at people and the feedback we get that is nonverbal, just as a little piece of what makes life more connected, especially when a lot of people are separated right now. So a little bit more authentic way of connecting with people and also monetizing. So,
I love that, because when people write me, and I don't know if anyone who's on the broadcast tonight watching has ever written me, but I get anywhere between 80 and 100 emails and messages every single day, 7 days a week. It doesn't let up. It just doesn't let up. It's nonstop. Yeah. And I was at a point where I was answering everybody, literally, even if it was thank you, welcome aboard, I wish you the best, like just something. It's at the point now where I can't even do that. So, so I literally have to just do like mass greetings like the Pope or something. I have to just kind of like, like wave my hand and, make the sign of the cross to the crowds kind of thing. There's no way in the world I can actually respond to everybody. But one of the things that I started doing within the past, I'd say this year, I've been telling people who write me, I say, please send me your picture so I know who I'm talking to.
That's awesome.
And it makes it so much more personal.
Yeah.
And everyone who writes me now, please send me your picture so I know who I'm talking to. And that does kind of like weeds out the scammers and those who are misrepresenting themselves, that kind of thing. So if a guy writes me and says, I'm having a hard time with my wife and, I'm a father of 3, and he will send me a picture of him and his wife and the 3 kids and stuff like that. Nice family picture. And of course, it's all very confidential, and I, honor their confidentiality in that way. But there's something about seeing the person that you're talking to. There's like phone counseling, and then there's this telecounseling or telecoaching, that kind of thing. I know with the part-time job that I have, we have I think it's called Teledoc. That's part of my health insurance. And I've used it like 3 times. It's like just calling a primary care physician, talking to them the way I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
And, you have a lump or a spot somewhere, and they're like, okay, if you can zoom in on that, you know what I mean? And I'm showing them, like it hurts like right here. And they're like, so it does make it more personal.
It does.
And I think you're onto something with this. And you're the personality expert. You make it easier to, like, for instance, you do a lot with typology and Myers-Briggs kind of things. But when you can see a person, there's nothing that can replace body language.
Yeah, it's such a big piece. And, one thing that surprised me, so I had this idea, right, that I wanted to make this centralized platform for this connection and monetization and interaction to occur, so that creators weren't left using a Zoom call and a PayPal and a this and a that. I wanted to have a centralized place. And what I found that was so interesting is because I got to test it on my audience first. I got to test it on my own people and have them start booking these sessions with me. And what surprised me more than anything else was I started having these conversations with people who I had talked with in the comments and stuff like that for years. And then talking to them face to face, I'm like, wow, these are some of the best people I've ever gotten to know. Like, it was such a pleasure to talk to some people who, it was strange because they already knew so much more about me than I knew about them. But just some of the best people I've ever gotten to know. And I would have never had that experience if it hadn't have been for, the platform and, building this thing. And so it surprised me even, which was great.
Yeah. You and I were talking earlier about Friday nights and Friday and Saturday nights. And you do broadcasts sometimes on Friday and Saturday nights with your audience. I'm known for just randomly doing a Friday night, and more recently it's been very regular. And my joke is, especially with the guys who are here, I say, well, I guess no one's getting laid tonight, and I say that jokingly, and I don't talk profanity. I really try to tone that down. But if I can use a little bit of vulgarity to like lighten up a situation and create a laugh, then I do it, and it just kind of makes it kind of a fun evening. But there is a kind of personality that is home on a Friday and Saturday night. There's a big part of the world that's working all week, and they can't wait to get out on Friday night, and they're grooming themselves. This is the time of night where they're blow drying their hair, and they're putting on their makeup, and the guys are grooming themselves and spraying cologne on. And I'm sitting out in a shed drinking like Coke and Jack Daniels. and smoking a pipe, and here you are sitting in your studio with me on a Friday night. Tell me about your Friday nights and how it relates to your personality style.
Well, if anyone who knows me is on the stream right now, it's funny because Friday night for me, every single Friday, it's laundry night and possibly a live stream. Sometimes I'll do Friday or Saturday, but it's funny because I'm working throughout the day, and everyone knows on Friday night Lindsay's doing her laundry because God forbid it happens on a different night of the week. And it's funny, but the thing is like I have all my time planned on Saturday and Sunday in a specific way. And so if I don't get it done on Friday, then I'm going to be just like jostled on one other part of the weekend and things aren't going to get done. And, so for me, my time is such a valuable resource. I really cherish every moment of the day because they're so fleeting. It's like our greatest currency, I really believe. And so I really value my time. And so that's why I try to like make sure it's being used to the best of my ability. And that means that I'm doing my laundry on a Friday night. And because at 4:00 tomorrow morning, I wake up and Guru Mac is over here in the comments. Him and I are starting to work on software together. And so,
nice.
We have this process and, it just, time is valuable. And so like, that's really how I kind of treat my time. And a lot of my followers too, I tend to have a more introverted crowd. And so I've never been the kind of person who's really like out on the Friday and the Saturday, and nothing wrong with that. It's just that I prefer to be doing other things that are building. I have a very kind of building mentality. And so if my time's not being contributed towards something, I'm just really not interested in it. So that's kind of a little bit of my personality perspective.
Yeah, I like that. And let me ask you this. Do you think introverts tend to stay home on the date nights and going out nights more than extroverts? Like, who I'm trying to think, it was the comedian Dane Cook. I think that's his name, Dane Cook. Very funny guy. And he talked about women who's like, women say, I just have to dance. I gotta go out. I have to dance tonight. And like, he's like, he goes, that's a female thing. You never hear a man saying, I just need to go out dancing tonight. And he's right about that. It's really kind of funny how women will go out and have a night out with the girls dancing, and as opposed to a night out with the girls, or as opposed to girls' night out, which is totally different.
Sure.
A group of girls can go out and dance with each other all night and go home and say, wow, we had fun tonight. A bunch of dudes will go out, and they're obviously not going to be dancing. Their goal is to meet a woman. And if they don't meet a woman or hook up or get a number, they feel like that they failed, like the night was a waste kind of thing. And when I look at the differences between men and women in social life, what are the differences that you can point out about men and women? I just pointed out an observation that I had made. Tell me some of the things you've noticed.
Well, I would say between, okay, so here's the thing is that, when we're looking at, like, let's say the bar scene as our subject location, right? And so we're looking at this one scene and we're seeing the men that are coming into this situation, right? And we're saying, okay, this is kind of their agenda. This is what they're looking to do in this situation. We're looking at the women, we're like, they have kind of their agenda that they're looking to do. The thing is on both sides, you're still only seeing really kind of one sort of people, because there's a lot of people who are really never going to be showing up to the bars. On the spectrum of humans, there's really certain people who prefer that scene and a whole bunch of the population who don't. So even if they are men and women, there's a good percentage of men and percentage of women who are never kind of interacting in that way. And there's the ones that are. But of the ones that are, I think a big a piece of it is inherently, what is their motivation? And because, men may have a different one than women. It just depends on the time of life, where they are in the scope. You may have the women who are married and, they just want to have that one night out, like you're saying, with the girls, and just a place of kind of like fellowship and community. where they can just go dance, like you're saying, Dane Cook, right? Or, you know, you have the life frame of where these men at, they may be a place where they are single. That's particularly what they're looking for. So I really think it depends on, you know, where are they in their stages of life and what is their motivation in that stage of life? Because, you know, depending on a few years, it could be really different. Depending on, you know, your relationship, it could be very different. So.
Yeah, I have a couple buddies. We go out to, my audience knows I don't go to like clubs. I'm not into like neon and lasers and mirror balls spinning and all that kind of stuff. I go to, my two favorite places are biker bars. And I'm kind of like in a sense, like a chaplain, so to speak. So when I'm with my dude friends, I'm not looking to score. And I always hated the guys that went out with his guy friends and then he would leave. Hey, sorry guys, I'll see you tomorrow. I'm going out with Denise here, you know, a chick that he just met 10 minutes ago.
Sure.
And I always thought that was kind of rude for a guy who goes to a place with a few friends and then he ends up leaving. It's like, oh, well, you know, so my intention, I don't even have those kind of friends anymore. Now, when we go to a bar, we go to watch the band and listen to the music and enjoy and eat and, you know, have bar food and, you know, and have a good time. If females cross our paths, we're gentlemen. We have fun. You know, we're not there to do anything. And I always felt that if I was ever going to go in that direction of going to an establishment to find a woman, I'm a lone wolf kind of guy. I don't need men to strengthen me. I just go by myself, identify what I want, go up to it, go up to her, introduce myself, and make a friend and whatever. Guys don't normally do that. Like I said, guys at the end of a night, if they don't get a number or something that looks promising, they look at it as kind of a waste. And my attitude has always been just come from a place of joy where if I meet somebody, fantastic. If I don't meet somebody, I had a great time watching the band. So it's win-win. I came in winning and I left winning. There was no criteria for what's going to happen tonight. So therefore, I'm not going to be let down. No expectations. Exactly. My only expectation was me, like a video that I put out today where I have high expectations for myself and no one else.
Amen.
What do you think of that? What do you think about those that have low or no expectations of others? What do you think of that?
I mean, you're talking my language with that. The thing is what I found is if I keep my expectations exceptionally low for everyone, then the only thing that they can do is surprise me with great things, because I'm like, do you know what? I was expecting this down here and you gave me this, right? Now other people out there may have their expectations up here at a more average, we'll say, level. And then people are like, okay, you know, they kind of hit it on the mark, whatever. But I'm expecting low because I know how addicted we are as humans to the things that we think are correct and the things that we think are right in our own perspective. And our perspectives are so biased. If we really knew how biased our own perspectives are, that we would realize that we're just kind of feeding ourselves these dopamine addictions every single day by the things that we do and interact with. And so I know that to be true. And so because of that, I keep my expectations low. You know, I learn how to manage my life for myself. I take responsibility of, you know, my own areas for myself. And then when I have these interactions with people, they're generally pleasant, uplifting, because you know what? I didn't need them for anything. I wasn't expecting anything from them. And now we have a nice interaction and it's a great time.
Yeah, I like that. I think one of the things that I've said is that everyone starts with an A. Like I have a report card and everybody gets an A. It's up to them to bring it down to a B, a C, or D, or fail. But my attitude is, and I have this actually with my brother. I taught him this probably a year ago, where I said, everybody is cool until they're not. And it's a great attitude. Like,
That's great.
just, you know, just enjoy everybody. And it's up to them. If they want to screw it up, it's on them.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And then, you know, everyone's starting with a clean slate. We're giving everyone the best objective perspective in terms of what they can and can't do. And yeah, then you make associations and appropriate judgments from that point.
Someone says, Lindsay looks European.
Oh, well, I'm not, but thank you.
There we go. Matt says, Big Tony the Surfer is an A in my book. Okay, that's cool. Hey, does anyone have any questions for Lindsay? If you have any questions, put it in the chat, and that would be awesome. And we'll just and we'll do that. Yeah, I think. Do you think that personality types are set in stone? What do you think?
So I've been studying with this group of researchers for a while now, and they've really done this deep dive on personality, because at one point, you know, everyone was like, personality theory, it's kind of pseudoscience, we can't really prove anything. Anyway, they were able to prove through the scientific method using double-blind studies that you actually can prove personality type on a 512 scale of type. So it's a very articulated, nuanced view of people's brains, but it is observable and it is trackable. And what we found through, you know, looking at people, understanding the brain better, is that we do have the same type from all the way through, but there's a big difference, because if someone has a more growth mindset, if they're actually willing to work on the hard parts of themselves, for whatever reason, they will be perceived so much more differently than if they were to not. And it'll almost seem as if, okay, they almost seem like a different personality type because they've worked this whole other side of their brain that, you know, people of the same type originally may not have ever worked before. So.
Well, it's oh, look at you have a little friend there.
I do.
Are you going to introduce your friend?
This is Indy. He's a very good boy, and he knows when I'm not talking, if I'm talking to someone who's not him, so he gets a little jealous sometimes.
He looks like a good boy.
Oh, he's a very good boy.
And what is the breed?
He's a Papillon.
Ah, okay.
They're a very smart breed of dog, but sometimes too smart.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Personality type.
So, George, I have a question for you.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So, in terms of your subscribers and the spectrum of personality you see, what do you think tends to be the hardest thing for people in their own mindset to get past and to get over?
Conditioning. Family conditioning, cultural conditioning. What they were told when they were little. You've always been the shy one. You were always the quiet one. You were the dumb one. You were never the athletic type. Things that were told to them when they were children. You know, I know 50-year-olds that were told, you were never really athletic when you were a kid. And they're still carrying that around at 50 years old because someone told them that. People have to break free from this strange programming that people put into them. And I find if you can free somebody from the voices that are shaping their behavior currently, like one of my great questions that I ask people is, what did your mother always tell you? It's right on the tip of people's tongues. What did your father always tell you? What was the one sentence or one thing that he always said about you? And people are pretty quick to bring that up. And to be able to break free from that is transformative regardless of the age.
Right. And something that's so fascinating too is, they've studied personality in families, like within kids. So you have the same parents, and they've done it with twins too, which is really interesting. So you have two very genetically similar humans, right? But their personality types could be different. And what's so interesting is they have the same experience, the parents are the same, they're doing the same things, but what they pick up as their perspective of the hardest things in their childhood, the meanest things that were said to them, can be so different from person to person, Like, let's say, like, I had a twin sister, right? I don't, but let's say I did. I could be saying, the hardest thing of my upbringing was how my mom told me, I was too tall to be a gymnast. I need to be shorter, and I'm just too tall, and, I could never do the thing that I loved, and, this held me back. And then, the sister could say, do you know what really, frustrated me about being brought up is that my mom was always late to everything. And then I always felt so bad because I always showed up to things that were late. And I just, now I'm always early. I'm always 5 minutes early because I'm so afraid of being late and, being that one person. So it's like our brains will take a piece of something through our own perspective and how we see the world. And it just really manipulates, how we kind of end up being.
It reminds me of the like a car accident at an intersection, and there's four people standing on four different corners, and the police officer is taking the witness statements, and he gets four completely different stories of the same accident because the perspective is different.
Yes.
So siblings will have a completely different idea of their upbringing from each other, different from each other. You could be in the same dorm as, I went to a college where there was about 100 guys in one of the dorms, and some said it was the worst experience of their life. Some said, oh, it was great. I loved living in that particular dorm. I loved it. And I don't know how anyone could have not liked it, but that was their experience. And it takes maturity to be able to look at that person and respect their opinion and their perspective without mocking them. Say, oh, what's the matter with you? It was a great place to live.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun in during those years, because I'm still in touch with a lot of my college classmates.
Good.
And rather than mocking them, it's better to ask questions and say something like, well, what exactly about dorm life did you not like? What was uncomfortable for you? And, maybe they grew up in a house that was quiet. They weren't used to like hijinks and guys pranking and doing stuff all night and loud music playing. And that was a culture shock for them. I don't know. So perspective is a huge thing, very huge thing.
It is.
And not prejudging on our part too, as people helpers.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to judge people or size people up pretty quickly. And I've found that if I don't do that, I have a better relationship with them, better therapeutic relationship with them.
Yeah. And I think it's so important too that, like, the concept of understanding, like, the more that we understand about the context of a person, the whole picture of a person, the more it brings light to us, and it connects them to us on another level. And I think it's so funny because so often people will be like, oh, that person isn't interesting. That guy, he doesn't seem like he's interesting or has anything to offer. Neither is that girl. And we write people off so quick instead of making it more of a game for ourselves and being like, what can I discover about this person that is the most interesting thing that I would never expect? And I really believe that every person is an expert in something. And it's my job, right? If I'm trying to, learn about someone, I want to find out, what are they an expert in? So I can get a little bit of that knowledge, a little bit of that insight, and it makes people very interesting, and it just helps us to kind of go through that process of understanding, I think, a little bit more easily.
Yeah, I was just thinking of the famous cancer surgeon. I think his name is Bernie Siegel, and he wrote a book I don't know, called like Miracles in Medicine or something like that. And he started to have a like a support group for cancer survivors and their families. Mm-hmm. And he had it like in a boardroom, and that quickly filled up within a couple of weeks. And then at a hospital, it was like a boardroom, and then I went to like a meeting room, and then the hospital had an auditorium. Pretty soon, he was filling up the auditorium.
Wow.
With people who had cancer and their families.
Mm-hmm.
And there was literally a microphone on the stage, and he greeted everybody. Hey, everyone, thanks for coming out tonight to like whatever the name of the lecture was or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he would say, he says, there's a microphone here. He says, I want you to tell your cancer survivor story of what went through your mind. What were you thinking? What happened after the surgery? Where was your level of hope? How do you rate your hope level and stuff like that? And he said, just feel free to come up and take the mic. And people would come up and take the mic and tell their story, and the audience would clap for him or whatever. Mm-hmm. At the end of the evening, which ended up being 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, he would stand at the back door as people were filing out. And people were saying to him, this was amazing. You were amazing. This was one of the best nights I've ever had. And this happened like every Tuesday night, night after night after night. And he's scratching his head saying, all I did was greet people, say hello, tell them about the open mic, tell their story, and then give the mic to the next person. And it was like 3 hours of that. He didn't say a word all night, but people were saying to him, what a great night. It was so inspiring. You're amazing. And he says, how can I be amazing? The conclusion he came to was, all I did was let people talk.
Mm. Yeah.
That's all he did. He facilitated communication. Mm-hmm. And he was like the most happening thing in that city. Talk about listening and communication. How important is that?
And it's so important, and the listening and the communication, but also the listening and communication on a similar experience. So, people who have gone through similar life experiences, if they're in a place where it's facilitated for them to speak about those things and to connect on that shared experience level, the amount of connection that brings is, so much greater. And it's like, as people were like, yeah, of course, obviously, you both had same experience. Of course, you're going to be able to relate to that. But compared to not being able to speak about those shared experiences and not having that available to you, we don't really see the difference. But when you're in that place that, we're all in this sort of thing together, we've all gone through the same thing, the amount of connection and vulnerability that brings out, and just inherent human nature is amazing. And it's really, it's so powerful for humans. And so just giving people the space to do that, I mean, you did a great job, clearly.
Matt M. says, Lindsay, are the Myers-Briggs tests accurate for choosing career paths?
Well, my first answer to that would be self-typing via the Myers-Briggs test is not always accurate, because what people tend to do is they will actually type themselves exactly backwards, because we want to see the things in ourselves that we want to be better at. It's our own human nature to be like, that thing over there, I don't really know what it is, but like, I want to be better at it. And so we'll actually answer things opposite of how they are in reality. And then if someone were to like look at your answers, they'd be like, oh, I don't think you actually do that often. The person's like, no, I do it all the time. I love talking to people, and I love, caring about other people's needs. And they're like, oh, actually, no, you're kind of selfish. No, so we want to see our deficits as strengths. And so that's one reason why the Myers-Briggs test can actually give you your opposite result. Now, if you're looking at it very objectively, maybe you've grown to a place in your life where you can see things a little bit more clearly, you can see your faults, and you're a little bit more at peace with them. you can type accurately. And then in terms of careers, it can be beneficial. There are going to be certain things that certain people do better than others in their inherent nature. Example for myself is I am not the kind of girl you want on an Excel spreadsheet. I don't care about the line by line items. They're very difficult for me. I just I want to create the whole thing in a different way. So I'm not the person to have in your accounting office on your bookkeeping. I'm not going to do a good job at it. So I think that aspect can be beneficial, but just take it for, face value. Don't change your life around it. Have it make your life decisions. You know yourself probably a little bit better than you think you do. And if you don't, ask the people who are around you in your inner circle to be honest with you.
I like that. Hey, real quick question. Do you have a nickname for your followers? I happen to call my followers the Beasts. And that came from an email that I responded to somebody, and I was typing best wishes at the end, and the autofill put in Beast, and I ended up writing Beast Wishes. So it became a joke, and so my followers are the Beasts.
That's
Many
great.
of the newer followers are Bears, which come from their followers of Owen Benjamin, who had a YouTube channel. I think now he's probably on D Live and Instagram. He got banned. He's banned everywhere he's going. But so the Bears and the Beasts kind of share a lot of similar things. Do you have any term of endearment for your followers?
Yeah, I kind of do. I call them, pretty specifically my internet friends. And it sounds a little general, but the thing is I realized when I was having conversations in real life with people, I wanted to be like, oh, my friend, so-and-so. And I wanted to drop a screen name of the person who was on my YouTube channel. Or I want to be like, my friend this. And I'm like, they're not real life friends. I don't know them. I haven't, I don't see them at the grocery store, but I'm like, they're my internet friends. And so they're my group of internet friends. I care about them very much.
Yeah. Do you answer emails from people when they write you?
I do. Yeah, I answer emails. I try to, one thing that really kind of pushed me with growing my channel was to really step in and for a long time answer every single comment that I would get. And that was a lot of work. So I would go through and, people started noticing that, oh, she answers every single comment, at least with something. And that made me have more of those come in. And so I have a really good dialogue, I think, with the people on my channel in the comments section, but people email me as well. And then they also book sessions on Snug with me and talk to me. And it's funny, the ones who actually end up booking the video sessions are usually the ones who don't leave comments. Because I'll always ask, I'll be like, oh, have I seen you in the comment section? And they're like, oh, no, I'm too shy to comment in the comments. But, here we are talking. So it's interesting.
Oh, how interesting. Yeah. So you are kind of like, what was the meme that I saw a couple years ago that said something like, introverts unite together in your own homes or something like that. It was, it was accurate. This. Yeah.
Yep.
So what we're doing now is a great way for all the introverts to kind of come together. There's the people who are making excuses. They're like, well, I'm home on a Friday night because I'm single and I just went through a breakup, and they're surprised to see people actually home on a Friday night who are choosing to be home on a Friday night and actually enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny. It's kind of what we were talking about before with perspective. It's like when you're in a certain line of vision and you're always out doing one thing, you're like, everyone does this. Everyone goes out on Friday nights. And then as soon as you're not, then you're like, oh, other people also don't do this. And, so I think it's interesting, especially when people are looking for partners or not looking for partners, whatever it is realize that you're probably just looking at one very small percentage of the spectrum. and that's it. And there's this whole other side of the spectrum. There's a spectrum of introverts to extroverts, right? We all kind of have a little bit of both, right? There's no 100%. I mean, Tony Robbins is probably the most extroverted extrovert you can find, but there's this whole spectrum that exists. And so we're all in there somewhere. We have a little bit of introvert. And so sometimes it's good to give ourselves some more of that introverted energy. And for myself, sometimes it's good for me to kick my butt out of the house and, have a more kind of extroverted energy too.
Yeah. I like to say that I'm an introvert with extroverted tendencies. Like I could still go out and be the life of the party or host a party.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. When I was married, I hosted a lot of house parties, always had people come over.
Nice.
And for many years now, I've just really enjoyed a lot of solitude, quite a bit of solitude, and have become real comfortable with it. And some of the memes were, I saw a meme last year that was so funny. It said, I went to a networking group last night. Whew, I almost had to socialize. And I totally get that because there's, right? Do you get that? Do you understand that?
I relate 100%.
Yeah. Let's see. We got a super chat by Guru Mac. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Said great stream. Tanisha from Chicago says, Lindsay, is there a particular online personality test or quiz that you recommend?
I get that question a lot. What I recommend is actually learning about the cognitive functions first. Carl Jung is the one who kind of developed the 8 cognitive functions. And so I would read about the cognitive functions first to get an idea of those and kind of base your framework off of those first and be like, okay, what is introverted thinking? What does that mean? How could I connect that to myself? What is extroverted thinking? Because what happens is that people tend to look at personality type quizzes and they're like, oh, this is the special little rare type over here. I want to be that one. It's like, don't base your information off that. Learn about the functions, see which ones you may be acting out in your life and which ones you have to work on. There's 8 cognitive functions. We have 4 of them inherently in our own brains, and 2 of them are dominant. So that means that there's quite a few that we don't have as dominant. There's a lot to work on. So I would look at it through that perspective. And then if you really do want to do a test, one that is based off the Jungian functions versus just like a 16 personalities ones, those aren't quite as accurate. So.
Jade Swanson says, what do you do for fun if you say you only really spend your time contributing to something?
Oh, great question. So what's fun to me may not be fun to you, and that's okay. So what's fun to me is building things, writing content. I will do that in my free fun time. I'll be writing. Sometimes I'll write sketches that are more comedy based. Some of them are more understanding based. The comedy ones are fun, and then I get to record it and then edit myself and be like, I'm the worst actor ever. That's okay, and that's fun. And so that's a big part of what I do. Filming YouTube content is fun for me, and then really just building and working on things that are meaningful to me is wildly fun. And then also creating content with friends is fun as well.
Matthew says, can you change at 50 or are you too set in your ways? What are your thoughts on that?
Ooh, great question. So people absolutely can grow at any age. The thing is that they have to choose to do it. And George, you probably have some good perspective on this too, but it's like, if someone hasn't made the choice to make a change in their life, no matter what you say or no matter what I say, it's not going to make a difference. They have to make that change. They have to want to make a change and a growth move for their own selves in order for that to happen. So what I see is really sad is if someone gets towards, their 80s, their 90s, and they look back at their life and they realize that, wow, I have never challenged myself. I have never looked at a different perspective of things. I have just done what I'm naturally good at my whole life. And, I never thought to think through another way. And to me, that's sad because it's like, I really strive for balance. And yeah, I think that's hard, but I mean, what do you think, George?
I think anyone can change at any time. I think,
yeah.
I've met young people that I felt were old fuddy-duddies. I've met older people that have great energy and seem very youthful, and age is just a number.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember seeing again, I talk about memes a lot, but it
I
was
love
a
memes.
picture of it was a picture of an old woman walking with a cane, but her shadow was like a young ballerina,
Very cool.
you know, and it was like, that's what she really is. She's that young ballerina. She's, you know, when I think about the intellectual capital in the elderly, the old people, they didn't stop being smart when they retired from their
Mm-hmm.
job or whatever. You know, when you think about the wisdom and the intellectual capital that's in your own neighborhood, on your
Yeah.
block, in your apartment building, you know, and people aren't volunteering that. You have to ask them for
Yeah.
that, you know,
Yeah.
and I just think I think it's important that we reach out to those who are older and have wisdom. I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm at a great age where I feel like I can reach out. Like I have mentors that are 80
Mm-hmm.
and I have mentors that are 30.
Yeah. That's
And
great.
my attitude is that I can learn from anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like the almighty
Right.
with only information coming down from me. I
Mm-hmm.
want information from a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
I want to know how they're perceiving life. I want to know what is life like for them. They're, a, a 25-year-old's perspective of life is different than mine,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to learn from that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to change, uh, and how capable am I of changing? I guess it's on a case by case basis.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's harder to learn
Mm-hmm.
if you haven't practiced flexibility with your neurological
Yes.
pathways.
Absolutely.
Like like in the athletic world, we have what high intensity interval training where you're tricking the muscles
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing something different. I was telling someone earlier that I'm stuck physically right now. My body is in this metabolic adaptation thing where it has now adapted to the amount of calories that I put in it every day. It's adapted to my workout, and I'm not seeing a lot of progress right now. And
Mm-hmm.
I got to shake it up. I got to trick the muscles. I have to do something. Like I'm at a weight right now that no matter what I do right now, nothing's happening. So
Jumpstart
I
it.
got to trick it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I
Mm-hmm.
think mentally we get stuck in our ways.
Yeah.
And I think if we've practiced neurological flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
then we can learn new languages. We can learn how to play an instrument. We can learn how to be in a different kind of relationship.
Yeah.
People are capable of change, but they have to be willing to, what's the joke? How many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb? And I guess the answer, it's something like none, because the light bulb has to want to change or something like that.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And what you're saying about practice is I can't agree with that more because, you know, I think inherently we want to say, oh, I worked on this one thing this one time in my life, so I'm good, hands off, right? When in reality, if we're not good at something naturally, if we don't want to learn certain kind of things, if we don't want to open our mind to certain kind of perspectives, it's never going to really get easier for us unless we practice, like you're saying. And so I know for myself, there's been times in my life where I've been much more introverted because I've been working on little projects and whatever it is. And then the whole idea of, oh, going over to the neighbor's house to, grab some coffee seemed like the biggest deal in the world, right? Because I'm like, I'm so out of practice with talking to people, having a common little conversation. It just seemed a lot and overwhelming. But what I realized is, if I continue to practice those other parts of myself, if I continue to keep my mind open in certain ways, keep a very objective viewpoint towards life and what I can learn from people, like you're saying. And, you know, I said that before too. I'm like, you can learn something valuable from every single person on the planet. Everyone is an expert in something, even if you don't rate that thing as being valuable to yourself. They're an expert in something that you're not an expert in. And so keeping an open mind to that, learning, practicing learning, and practicing perspective, I think is just huge.
Yeah, this saying is attributed to Galileo, allegedly, where he said, "I never met a man so ignorant that I couldn't learn something from him." And I love that, because everyone is your teacher. As soon as I realize that everyone is my teacher and I'm a student, my life got so much better, because everywhere you go, you're like, wow, I have teachers here. How cool.
Yeah. It is. It makes life so much more interesting too, because when you're open to learning, it makes your life such a more rich experience, because there's no way I could become an expert in every single little thing, in every kind of interaction. Bring me into a room and there's someone over there who's like an astrophysicist, and I'm like, tell me everything you know about black holes, man. Like, let's go, let's have this conversation. Like, give me your best nuggets about this thing, right? And to me, like, what a rich experience to be able to put those little pieces of information into your life and then have that grow you as a human, because we can't do it by ourselves.
You're right. Someone asked me once, what would I do if I won the lottery, or what would I do if, you hear those questions, what would you do if you won, like when these Powerballs get up to be like 300 million, people say, what would you do if you won 300 million? And my answer is the same. I don't care if I win $100. It's the same. I would invest it somehow, some way, and not necessarily financially. You could take $100 and go buy a new pair of sneakers. In less than a year, those sneakers will be worth nothing. They'll be worn out. You'll end up throwing them away. But if you had $100 and you went to Udemy or Teachable, and where you can get courses for $12.99,
right.
I mean, think about it. You can take 6 different courses on Udemy and learn something for $100.
It's amazing technology.
And the sneakers are going to die. The sneakers are going to be dead in a year. They're going to be worthless. But the knowledge, your house can burn down, the sneakers burn up. But you know what?
Yep.
If you invest in your brain, put that $100 into your brain, the house burns down. Guess what? You still have the knowledge.
Got the value. It's right there.
Yeah. The thing about things is that they depreciate in value. The thing about knowledge is that it appreciates in value as time goes on.
It does. I like that.
What do you do to help people invest in themselves when you have one-to-one sessions with people? Is that something you do, and how do you do it?
Yeah, so I take like the personal investment, very seriously as it comes to, if someone's coming to me for perspective, I want to be really honest with them. And sometimes honesty isn't the most pleasurable experience. Sometimes, being honest doesn't feel good. But the thing is I know that being honest with perspective is what's going to give that person the most value over time. And so when I'm talking with people one-on-one, what's really important to me is to point out what areas they are doing really well in. What are the highlights? Like, what are they an expert in? What am I learning from them, right? But then also really bring to light the areas of, is this a challenge for you? Are doing these certain things challenging? Okay, why? Why is that a challenge? Okay, how does that affect these other points of your life? Oh, okay, so that area is also a result of this one thing. Okay, well, we can connect that. And then, okay, what about this thing over here? And so help people make some of the connections between some of the things that they're struggling with, and then how that relates to their own brains. And then also the takeaways of like, okay, well, now what do I do with this information? I know that I'm not good at Excel spreadsheets, and I'm, maybe I don't look at my mail very often, and that's why all the bills, had piled up at this one point, or whatever it is. It's say, okay, well, what are the steps that we can put in place? What are some systems that you think would work for you to approach these things better, so that they're not hanging you up, 5-10 years from now? I mean, 5-10 years from now, I don't want to be struggling with the same things that I am now, And so I think helping people see that perspective and then giving them some takeaways that they can actually apply. A lot of the people who I speak with on Snug tend to come back and book multiple times because we have a good dialogue, and we're able to work on some things together. So
I have to write something down that you just said. Hold on, let me do this. You just gave me a great coaching question that I will ask people, and basically, let's see, what are you struggling with now that you don't want to be struggling with 5 years from now? What a great question.
Cool.
If I don't write it down, I'm going to forget it.
I'm the same way.
Okay, because I already know some people who I'm going to bring this question up with. What is the hardest case you've ever dealt with? What are some problems that people have brought to you that really made you just stop and think and maybe say, I don't know, but I'll get back to you on that?
So it's strange. I feel like at this point that nothing really surprises me in terms of things that are said. It really, I'm still waiting for the moment that I get surprised again by something someone says. It really hasn't happened many years. But the things that I'll kind of want to pause on are if I can tell that someone is in a mental space that isn't stable for themselves, and that they're not able to have a conversation in a way that can actually benefit them because there is some other problem that is a part of, what's going on in their lives. That's not just cognitive, right? There's something else at play. Those are the moments where I want to pause and say, like, let's just take some time because you may need to be getting help at a level that I can't provide you. And that's okay. That has happened very, very rarely. But when you are working in the space of, mental health and things like that, you do get people where you're like, the best thing I can do to help you is to not help you in this moment and have you go to someone where you can get some professional help, in person, in real life. And so those are kind of the moments where I'll pause. But generally what it is are, sometimes there's challenging questions to look at. But the thing is I really believe that most of the time the person already has the answer in their head, right? They already have the answer. They already know these things. I'm just helping to bring it to life, to bring that conversation out and to get them saying it, the thing that already exists in there.
Yeah. People saying it is important. Mm-hmm. There's been a movement this year of say his name with mm-hmm. some of the tragic events that have happened across the country. And I remember in the movie Fight Club that came out many years ago, one of the guys that died, I forget what his name is, it was like Paul or something like that. And the guys in this Fight Club would say, I'm thinking his name was Paul, I don't know. If anyone knows, his name was Robert Paulson. That's it, Joe Raster, thank you. His name was Robert Paulson, and they would say that his name was Robert Paul, to get people to say things rather than just listen and experience. Say it with your mouth. Let that come out of your mouth. That's important, isn't it? To get people to identify what they're dealing with their own mouth.
It's so important. And the thing is it's about for a lot of people, it's bridging that gap between the abstract, the thought kind of being up here somewhere in the clouds and grounding it down to reality. So, you know, for myself, I tend to be a little bit more abstract with a lot of things. But what helps me ground things is kind of like what you just did. You wrote it down, right? And so I'm like, you know, this idea or whatever, how do I make it real? It's like, for myself, I'm going to write it down, you know, or I'm going to speak it out. And that's how you kind of bring it from idea land to reality land. And then it's almost like you're able to recognize it as a real thing versus just some kind of idea, concept, whatever it is.
I find myself, I talk to myself a lot to the point where when people are around me, I get a lot of people saying, "Did you say something?" I'm like, "No, I'm just talking to myself." I literally will have conversations where I am answering stuff in my head. It sounds like a mental health problem, but it's really not.
No,
I have to hear, yeah, I have to hear myself saying things. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to ask you that question. What are you dealing with now that you don't want to be dealing with 5 years from now?
Me specifically, right?
Yeah.
So I would say for myself, you know, one of the harder things that I've come to understand about myself more in the past few years, and it's still a struggle. I'm figuring it out. I'm in the process of figuring it out more. Is being okay and accepting with things that I actually want and value, letting that be a priority versus rationalizing and saying it's not important, it doesn't apply right now. You know, I might really like something on the inside, but I'm like, I don't have to bring that out or bring it. It doesn't matter. It's not applicational to what's actually important. And so I'll over rationalize kind of like these small joys in my life, and I'll not let them be as free to be enjoyed, because I will kind of shove them down with this rationality. So a big part of my growth, I think personally right now, is being okay with the fact that I don't need to have permission from my circumstance in order to enjoy things, in order to find joy, and to be like, yeah, I like this silly, stupid thing, whatever it is, and I'm okay liking it, even if it's not really relevant. That's always just been a really strange struggle. I mean, some people I'm sure will relate to that, but there tend to be people who either they don't need permission to kind of be themselves in certain ways, and there's people who do feel like they need permission to be themselves in certain ways. And so I've always kind of been on the latter half, but I'm learning you know, to be more on the front end, being like, I don't need permission to like certain things. I don't need permission to enjoy these aspects of my life. I'm free to do that. So
let's get into the entrepreneurial mindset here. How did you first come up with Snug? Tell me about tell me about when it was just a little tiny seed in your mind. Everything from how the name was chosen to the plan to the execution, the whole bit. Just give us the story.
Sure. So yes, Snug, I like to say, like in my own brain, it started as kind of these things are being filed in the back of my head, and I didn't really know how they connected yet to something, right? But they were kind of back there marinating, as I like to say. And one day, and this is probably going to sound hilarious to some of you, but one day I realized how valuable actual human connection really was, and how it was becoming more scarce as we were progressing. You look at AI, you look at how you can go to Japan and you can have robotics completely take care of you and your hotel experience from start to finish without one human interaction. And you see how these things are coming with fewer human interactions on a regular basis, right? So what does scarcity create? Well, scarcity creates a higher level of value in that area, right? That's why diamonds are valuable, right? Because they have made them more scarce. And so I was starting to I was looking at the scarcity of human connection. I was like, gosh, this is such a thing that is really happening. And then where that tied in was I started to look at these people I had these connections with through YouTube, and they wanted to talk to me more. I wanted to talk to them more. And I'm like, okay, how do I do this? Well, there has to be some software that exists that combines what I want to do, which was to have people schedule, to take a payment, and to have video chat hosted in browser software all in one piece. So I'm like, this isn't really that big of a deal. It should exist. And so I looked for it for a long time. And I'm like, I just must be really bad at researching, software, because I know it has to exist. It come to find out it didn't exist. And so at that point, I started looking for someone who wanted to build this thing with me. And I came to find another content creator who was also a software developer, who has ended up being one of my closest friends. And we started making YouTube content together. We started building the platform, which we didn't have a name for at first. And so in the beginning, one of our longest whiteboard sessions of like hours was like the whole dilemma of, what can we call this that makes sense, that where there's a domain name available, that it sounds kind of cool. And I mean, hours and hours of writing names on this board and going through and seeing what things meant. And so the word snuggery is, it's an English term that means a place basically to commune with friends. And so snug is a kind of abbreviation of snuggery, this kind of comfortable place, bring some people around you, have a human conversation. And so that's how Snug was born. And then, I mean, that was the very beginning of it. And then it was the whole process of like, okay, how do we make this actually work for people? How do we make this a seamless process? And luckily, I found someone who's as crazy about building things as I am, because that was kind of scary at first, because I'm like, who's going to want to commit to a project this size? I know this is not small. And luckily, Guru Mac, who's here in the comments somewhere, he was totally on board for it. So, and I think it helped too that he could see from the creator perspective what the actual problem was and why, like you were saying, a lot of people email you and stuff like that. It's like, you can't have a large following of people and not have a scalable solution. It just doesn't work. You get to a point where, I can't be emailing you back and forth about what day you want to talk on Zoom and then send you a link and then have that link not work for you and you can't download it because something happened with your computer and this and that. It's just like, I don't have the time to deal with that, and neither do these other creators and people who want to, have this interaction that's genuine, make it work. So that's kind of a little bit of the journey.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. And then how long has this been around now?
Let's see, we launched in the end of March. Yeah, we launched in the end of March, and so we've been around for just about like 6 months now. And yeah, here we are. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. I like anything that enhances communication. I really do. Mm-hmm. I'm a big Marco Polo guy. I like Marco Polo for personal stuff. It's I guess some people say it's similar to WhatsApp. I don't know. I've never used WhatsApp, mm-hmm. but I've always said Marco Polo is cool because it allows people to complete a thought without interruption. The other person has to hear what they have to, what the other person has to say. I speak till I'm satisfied with what I have to say, and then the other person gets to respond. So it's kind of like the Native American talking stick when they'd be sitting, Native Americans be sitting around having a meeting, and they would have a stick, like a walking stick kind of thing. It was a talking stick. And if you wanted to talk, you have to have, you can't interrupt anyone. The only person who's allowed to talk has the talking stick in their hand. And when they are done, then they hand it to the next person who wants to talk. So it's kind of like this protocol thing. So that's one of the reasons why I like Marco Polo, just for talking with friends and family and such. It enhances communication. How does Snug enhance communication between content creators and and their fans, followers, subscribers, whatever you want to call them?
Yeah, so I mean, we made it to be as easy as possible. So simply, if someone's a content creator, they want to offer the service to their following, they sign up, and then it's just, but previously it's been really hard to get in touch with content creators, like outside of an email that maybe they answer and maybe they don't. So basically, they have one link that makes it very easy to just access their schedule, to talk with them, to send them a donation that's commission free, to send them, also we have like business inquiries we put in there as well. We're going to be launching services, which isn't a face-to-face video, but it's where you can transfer a file or something like that. Someone can send you one back. So it really makes connection actually convenient versus chasing someone down on an email, because who has time to do that either? So, we're onboarding more people every single day, getting people to use the platform. And what we found is that I just think people don't expect to find the level of connection that they do through these kind of face-to-face interactions and getting to know people at a deeper level. So I think, both sides get surprised a little bit. And it's been, from everything we've seen so far, it's just been so positive, and we're just really happy about where it's going.
So it seems like that the mindset of the entrepreneur, you being the entrepreneur, was really born out of a need that was there. And it was, I've always said this for years when I speak to entrepreneurs, find a need, fill it, and then get paid for it. And that's what you've done. You're filling a need. You're not just creating a need. You're not like you did not have to twist my arm to see the value of this service. You did this. It's kind of like a no-brainer for a content creator. It's just, practically speaking, it's one of the most practical things I've ever seen. It's just really amazing as far as payment, scheduling, and so forth. And so a content creator with a following can literally create minimum part-time income for his or herself by using snug.me. Yeah.
And then they don't have to worry about the whole like demonetization game either. I mean, so many of the rules I know kind of go back and forth, and people are, they're walking on eggshells with what they want to talk about. And my channel hasn't been demonetized, but like at the same time, it's not something I want to really worry about, because I want to speak on content that I find meaningful, and hope that I don't offend YouTube and AdSense's feelings. But you know what? It's like I can't rely on that. And at the same time, ads, it's like that's not what my people want. They don't want to see an ad. Like they don't want another, why are they coming to my channel? Because they want to interact with me on some level. They want some kind of information. They want some kind of connection, right? Even if it's through a YouTube video. So it's like, why would I not give them what they actually want in this other way? And so, like you said, it's, from our perspective, it makes a lot of sense, and that's what it is.
Yeah. Tell us about your YouTube channel. I was watching some of your videos earlier today. Like I enjoyed your video on cancel culture. I just thought that was really cool. But tell us about your channel.
So my channel, it covers a lot as it relates to mindset, some specific personality types I touch on, but then I also touch on the spectrum of the cognitive functions, what they do. Sometimes I play in some bad acting and comedy through how those functions could act in real life if they were narrowed down to like a singular function. And, I kind of play on the human experience of what life is and how we can grow and learn through that process. And also helping certain people of various personality types feel more understood when there are some people who go through life feeling as though nobody can relate to them. And to me, that's a personal kind of passion of mine, is helping people feel understood who may have never felt that way before. That's something that I want to bring to the world. So those are some things I cover on my channel.
That's pretty cool. what are your goals for your channel? Where do you see your channel being at in a year or two, 5 years? Well, actually, 5 years is like a million years in YouTube world. So let's say a year. Let's say a year. Where do you see yourself in a year?
So in a year, I hope to be creating content that is still dealing with aspects of personality, but not so much specific to personality type, but a little bit more broad as it relates to just the way that people think and process information, and just kind of open up a little bit more that way. Because if people don't know about typology and they don't know, about the cognitive functions or Myers-Briggs, stuff like that, I feel like some people are getting left out, and I want them to come in to the cool introverts club and hang out with us for a little while. So
I like that, the cool introverts club. I like that a lot. All right, so who is your current market, and who do you want to reach out to more?
So our current market is YouTube content creators, and that is who we want to reach out to more. And one thing that can help us get there is that if there are people who watch specific channels and want to have video conversations with those creators, they can say, hey, I would love to talk to you on Snug. I would love to have a video chat with you on Snug. And to make that creator aware that, the software exists and that it's made for them and it's made to be easy for them. And so, we're reaching out to creators, but also it's amazing when the YouTube community as a whole, which I am a part of as well. I was a YouTube watcher before I was a YouTube creator. And, ask the people, like your favorite people, be like, hey, I would love to talk to you, and that's about all it takes sometimes.
That's cool. Tell us what your channel is.
So my channel name is Lijo, Lijo. And yeah, that's how you find me. You can search Lijo. I think there's someone who does music in the Middle East who also has a similar name, but you'll see my face on those thumbnails. And Janelle, that's the right me.
Okay. And then the website, where do they go for your business website?
Yep. So to visit Snug, just go to snug.me, snugg.me. I've seen it here in the comments a few times. And yeah, so that's where you can go, and you can either search influencers who are on the platform currently. As an influencer, you can sign up there, and yeah, that's where our little internet family exists right now.
That's awesome. The phrase that I'm taking away from this was, that's where all the cool introverts hang out. I like that. There's, it's almost antithetical if you think about it. There's this paradoxical thing because introverts don't hang out. It's not a thing. And what you've done is you've empowered and given them a place to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we have the introverts on there. On Snug, we have more of the extroverted types too, who just are so excited about just engaging everyone. And so we make a space for everyone. But I think a lot of people, no matter how introverted or extroverted they are, they tend to find comfort there. And that's kind of really what all Snug is about. So
that's cool. That's very cool. Well, it's been fun spending some time with you on a Friday night. I hope we can do it again sometime. Some people actually, they wanted some more, and it's getting late. And but we'll do it again, and we'll have definitely some agenda. But what a pleasure to actually chat about your business, chat about you, what your goals are, and introducing you to my audience. And I know some of your audience came here as well. Yeah. And it was a fun Friday night.
It was great for me too, and it was a pleasure getting a little of your insight from your perspective of these things that I don't know as much about from your end. So thank you.
Excellent. Thanks a lot. All right. Talk to you again soon.
All right. Bye, guys.